Hey everybody, welcome back to our Texas Real Estate and Construction YouTube channel down here in Houston. And for the very first time, we have a few international guests. We have Sam and David Black from beautiful Costa Rica. How are y'all doing today?
Doing
we're doing
great.
great.
Thank you.
Great,
Yeah,
thanks,
it's
Aaron.
rather rainy here, but it's lovely.
Yeah, we're in the rainy season, so it's probably not as nice as it is in Houston right now, but great to be on the show, Aaron. Thanks for inviting us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Costa Rica is one of those places I've always wanted to visit. It's been on my list, but I've never been.
Well, now you've got the ideal opportunity because we'll be your guides, your hosts, and we'll show you around this beautiful country. No problem at all, Aaron.
Absolutely. I know we were chatting for a bit before, and you were saying that, with your accent, you're not from Costa Rica. So out of curiosity, could you say a bit about where you're from, what you do, and what attracted you to live in Costa Rica?
For sure, I'll start off if you like, Aaron, and because Sam's far more interesting than me, so I'll let her finish off. But yeah, I mean, I was actually born in Scotland, so I'm born in Edinburgh. I'm an old guy, as you can see, I should say older gentleman, mature, shouldn't say old, because 60 is the new 50, right? So yeah. But I was born in Scotland, but I lived in England most of my life. I lived in the UK, held various positions. I worked for Cable and Wireless. I worked for a big energy business there called Empower. I then moved over to the Middle East, and I was the vice president for Showtime TV Networks, part of the Viacom, the US Viacom company, Sumner Redstone. And I was there for four and a half years, building TV networks, pay TV, and that kind of thing in the Middle East, North Africa. And then I was due to go back to the UK, and I got asked to carry out an assignment in Costa Rica. I thought, why not? That sounds better than the UK, certainly weather-wise, that's for sure. And so, yeah, I jumped at the chance. I was supposed to be here for a year, and 15 years later, here I am. And in between, I've worked in China, building businesses in online recruitment companies and various other things. So it's been quite the journey. So that's me. I'm going to hand over to Sam now, who's got far more interesting background than that.
Not at all. What an introduction. Well, I'm Samantha. I also go by Sammy or Sam, but you can call me Samantha or Sammy. I've actually been living in Costa Rica now for 14 years. I've lived in 4 continents, which is quite interesting. I was born in the United Kingdom, so I've lived in Europe. I've lived in Asia, in the Middle East, also in Dubai briefly. And I also lived, before moving to Costa Rica, I actually studied in Australia for 4.5 years. And I studied international business and political science. And I also did a minor in Arabic. But that was replaced with Spanish. So I speak fluent Spanish and a little wee bit of Arabic, but Spanish fluently. My background is in teaching and recruitment. So I used to do teaching, and then I opened up my own business, and I had a language school for 7 years. And then shortly after that, I joined David, and we actually started to fully launch Nomadux. That was back in 2013. David was actively starting it in 2012, but we really started to launch the services for the division in Costa Rica in 2013, and I commenced in the role as client relations director. And from there, I'm also a commercial radio presenter. So I have a background in doing radio, and since 2 years ago, I started doing that again. So I do live radio in the morning. It's a music show, and but my real bread and butter is working in Nomadux. So helping, bringing in the clients, being the main liaison for the clients that we have based in the United States, also placing them with the type of agent that they need. So we have a really strong kind of our core competency is the recruitment side of things in Costa Rica, and then providing the VAs to our clients in the United States. Our specialty is in real estate. We've been doing that actively since 2017. So we provide cold callers. And then really from the pandemic in 2020, we started to get a greater demand, interestingly, for lead managers and acquisition managers, disposition agents, and also executive assistants. So now, Aaron, we kind of provide VAs across the board, any type of role that a real estate investor might need for their business. And that's what we've been doing. We work actively now with, I would say, 80 clients in the United States in real estate specifically. And then we also have different industries where we also can do customer service. We work with medical companies, billing agents, financial industries, and so forth. So that's just to give you a little bit of a background about myself, and just a very brief outline into what Nomadux does, specifically in the real estate and in the other industries that we provide our remote workers to.
I did tell you that Samantha was far more interesting than me, Aaron. I think that demonstrated that amply.
You really weren't kidding. Yeah, that's fun. No, I thank you for the insight and the background there. It's always neat to see our guests that have a really wide range of specialties. I also thought the Arabic and the Spanish thing was pretty cool. I guess there is a bit of overlap there, right? I think there's a few words in Arabic that kind of transfer over to Spanish.
Yes, there is. Yes, there is.
Let's see,
like azúcar, suka.
Okay,
like
almohada.
Yes.
Almendra. Pantalones, right?
Pantalón. Almohada.
Yeah.
Pantalón is trousers or pants.
And, naranja, right? That's another one.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And I believe the significance of that is from when the Moors invaded Spain. And that's where you got the crossover with the Arabic and the Spanish language.
Okay. No, I always think that's so neat, that crossover there. But one thing that I was curious about, you mentioned how during COVID, it kind of changed a lot of things. Obviously, there was a shakeup with the economy and a lot of uncertainty, how people did business. In your business, what specifically changed, and why this uptick in the need for VAs and cold callers?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Samantha, I'll probably start off there. As it was very interesting, because we were already moving more towards a work from home VA model. So we had physical call centers in Nicaragua and Costa Rica that were providing services to customers with, clients with. But we thought there was always we could see there's a demand. I mean, living in Costa Rica, if you've not been here, the road network, the infrastructure is poor, to say the least. Fabulous country, wonderful people, but they haven't really invested a lot on the infrastructure. So people spend so much time here. Although it's a small country, they live, some of them live in the country, some of them live near the beach, to get into the center, to the town center or the main centers where the main jobs are, it can take them an awful long time, whether it be driving or getting public transport. Some of these people can get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to get to a job for 9 o'clock. It's pretty crazy. And so we already could see with our own staff, we thought, hang on, they're going to be happier and we're going to attract the best people if we provide more of a home working environment. So what we did is we kind of pulled away from our city center office, and we actually invested, with the savings that we made from that, we actually invested in helping our staff build their own home offices. So we provided them with some equipment, and we provided them with some of the work that they needed doing to have a home office. So, and this was kind of a year before the pandemic. So when the pandemic hit, it was like, oh my goodness me, I could see this huge. It was like, oh, I'm some kind of visionary, although I wasn't. It was just pure luck. It was like, oh my goodness, we're already set up for this. And then I could see clearly that after this time when people were at home and people were away from, a lot of people would not want to go back to that again. I could see things were changing. The whole way of working was going to change forever. And so we were already in a very, beneficial position of being ready for that, before it even started. And so that's why it really changed. And since then, because as Samantha mentioned, we don't just provide VA services to our clients. We also have a large recruitment division, a global recruitment, where we recruit all sorts of positions, from C-level positions through management positions to customer service, all sorts of positions. We could see that when we were recruiting on behalf of our clients, the best candidates were saying, no, I want to work from home, or they wanted at least to only work in the office 2 or 3 days a week. So we could see that moving. We were saying to our clients, if you want the best people, if you say it's going to be work from office, you're not going to get the best people anymore. So that, to answer your question in a probably long-winded British way, we always talk too much, but in a long-winded way, that's when we saw it happen, and that's when we saw things really change. So we really started to move into the let's provide VAs, because this is really a thing of the future now. People are going to want, and apart from that, Aaron, it's the cost savings as well. So what we can do, we can provide VAs in certain roles, certain functions for clients that don't want to take staff on in-house for those positions, because in-house you've got to pay the taxes, you've got to pay social security, you've got to pay all sorts of other things, which is fine if those jobs are going to be long-term. I actually think that's what employers should do. But if you're looking for some short-term work, or for something that's like lead generation or lead management in your business that you don't need in-house, you don't need to employ those people, it could be done competently outsourced. That's where we come into our own, and that's what we provide the service for. And we've just grown doing that, over the last few years. So hopefully that answered the questions. I seem to have talked for a long time. I do apologize.
No, sure. That definitely answers it. I like the part where you talked about, seemingly being a visionary. If anything, I would call that being a visionary, right? I mean, you kind of, I don't know, I guess, what do they call that? Calling your shot and making it, right?
Yeah, you get gut feels about things, and sometimes, Aaron, you don't follow them. But I guess as you get older, when you're younger, you think, oh, I better not do that. I don't know enough, or I might make the wrong. But as you get older, you think, well, life's short. I haven't got long left. I'm just going to go for it. If it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't really matter. Samantha will pick up the pieces and she'll look after the business long after I'm gone. So if I make a mess of it, it doesn't matter. But you get this gut feel. I've learned more in life as you move forward. Yeah, experience and thinking with your head is important, but sometimes following your gut feel can be just as important. And I tend to do that more and more these days. And that's really what we did with this business.
And it's so hard to keep that mentality, especially now in this internet age where everyone's throwing all this information in your face. And a lot of times people don't really know where to turn. It's almost this analysis by paralysis, or paralysis by analysis.
Yeah, exactly.
Sensory overload.
And everyone seems to be jumping on the latest thing, like AI now, Aaron, is the huge thing. And AI is going to be fantastic. I've got no fear of AI. It's just that people jump on things when they're new and they don't really know why they're jumping on them. They're just jumping on them and think, oh, if I don't jump on AI, I don't jump on social media, I don't jump on Facebook advertising, oh, I'm going to get left behind. And they don't follow their own instinct. What's always worked for you? Because what's always worked for you probably still always will. All these other things that come along enhance what you already know and what you already do, but they don't replace it. AI is not going to replace what you do. And if you think it is, then you probably need to think about what you're doing. AI, in many ways, is going to go through a very difficult period where it's not regulated, which is good. I don't believe you should regulate new products and services necessarily too much, because then they don't grow in the way you want them to. But there's going to be a lot of bad things as well as a lot of good things that come through AI. We're already hearing about people getting called by their bank manager when it's not their bank manager. Oh, hey, can you just tell me your account number and password? And they're taking money out. And there's all sorts of things going on with AI. So it's interesting because it's like one of the core things we do, cold calling, if you think about it, it's been around forever. Cold calling's been around since the telephone was invented. And yet cold calling is now even becoming more fashionable again because people don't trust AI. They're getting these calls from robots. And so as difficult and as annoying a cold call might be, and I've had cold calls, I find them annoying as well, even though I'm in the business of it. I'd actually rather speak to a human being and know I'm speaking to somebody that's actually real than some scam that's being, committed by a robot. So we're going through all that now, and it's always interesting. But I think always keeping to core business skills and core business processes and objectives have pretty much stayed the same. You just need all this new stuff to help you do it, but don't let it replace it.
Absolutely. I know one concern that small business owners could have would be the accent, right? Maybe hearing some sort of foreign accent and assuming, okay, well, this person obviously wants money from me. I'm just going to hang up the phone, right? And is it really worth the money? I'm hiring someone from overseas. If I live in Texas, they don't sound like they're from Texas. I'm just going to hang up. I'm not saying I'm like this, but I know people that are, right? What would you say to someone like that?
I might be able to answer this.
I'm going to hand over to Samantha. That's one of the key questions we always get.
One of our unique selling points, Aaron, and to be honest with you, we offer all types of VAs. We've tried to expand the repertoire of types of agents that we offer. However, I would still say that 80% of our business or even more comes from the demand of native English speaking VAs. So we offer agents that live outside of the United States, but were born and bred there. So they have native English. They understand the culture, the nuances. They understand the different geographical locations. And sometimes we can often even place, say, for example, we have a client from Houston, Texas. We can often place an agent or VA who is from Houston or a nearby area in Texas. So this really helps with the cold calls because it completely alleviates that issue that you just outlined of, it completely takes away that distrust. In the first, I would say, nanosecond that you speak to someone, if you don't like how they sound, and it sounds awful, and this isn't necessarily particularly politically correct, but if you don't like how they sound, you don't want to do business with them. You're not going to stay on the phone with them, especially you might be a distrustful person, or you might be someone that has had a bad experience and you don't, you're just a little more cautious. Now, having said that, we also have great agents. We also have agents that are from Latin America. So we've got agents from Nicaragua, Costa Rica. A lot of these agents also actually studied in the US, and you almost can't really tell the difference between their accent and someone that was born and bred in the United States. Also, about a year ago, we started to offer different types of agents. So we also have Filipino agents, and they work out really well for our, investors that maybe have a bit more of a budget. They're newbies just starting out, and they don't really have the marketing budget just yet to be able to afford a VA that is, a native speaker, because obviously we have to pay them a bit more and the investment is slightly higher. So I think it's good to have those types of options so that the investor can have a choice over who they would like to choose for their cold calling or, acquisition or lead management campaign.
Sure. I just thought I'd mention that as well, because I know, what you mentioned, how within that first nanosecond, someone's going to decide, hey, am I going to stay on with this person or am I going to hang up the phone and move along?
It happens. And it happens not just in the United States. It happens in Europe as well. I know in England it happened because a lot of the call centers started to get outsourced over to India. And even though we're very used to that accent, still a lot of people were struggling with understanding it. So it is definitely a concern. And I also think it's more than just the accent. I think it's being able to understand the nuances, being able to understand if someone's being sarcastic with you on the phone, if someone's being a little belligerent, if someone's being indifferent. If you're not from that culture, it sometimes might be a little difficult for you to understand where that person is coming from and how they're interacting with you on the phone. It's a different dynamic.
Sure, that makes a lot of sense. I guess it looks like maybe something, the call drop with David. Looks like we lost him.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully he will be able to come back on. So
No
we can
sweat.
just keep going, and then I think he'll be able to log back on. He's
Yeah.
got the link, so he's the one that sent it to me. So we can just keep rocking and rolling, and then hopefully he'll join in a minute.
Yeah, no sweat. But I guess I'm just curious specifically, who your clients are. I'm just trying to think, if I'm a small business owner, maybe I do some real estate. I build a couple homes, or I flip a couple houses, or maybe I'm a general contractor. Where exactly does the cold calling fit in here into my business model?
Correct. So just to give you an idea, the majority of our clients, well, they're a mix, but I would say quite a big majority are wholesalers and house flippers. And a lot of them, oh, there you are. Look who's back. That's great. Can you hear us? The majority of our clients are wholesalers or flippers. And a lot of them also
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I seem to get some kind of power outage or something happened. I don't know, but I lost you, so I do apologize.
It happens. We've been experiencing heavy rain here. Right. And then obviously with the hurricanes, Hurricane Helene that hit the coast of the Big Bend in Florida and also Mexico, Yucatan. So we've also been experiencing that as well. Yeah. North Carolina has been terribly affected. So our thoughts and prayers to the victims. That's terrible. I've been reading a lot about that recently. It's horrible.
But hopefully this won't spoil your podcast, will it? I guess you'll just cut this bit out, or
sure, no issue.
He was just asking about the clientele that we have, the specific type of investors that we work with, and how hiring a VA from Nomadux fits specifically into their business model. So I was just saying that majority of wholesalers, flippers, a lot also do creative finance. They have many different exit strategies. Sometimes it's just buy and hold, or they'll flip it. They'll do creative finance deals. And really what they're looking for someone, if it's a cold calling campaign, they've got data. So they specifically want an outbound campaign. So our cold callers will call motivated or ideally motivated sellers. And really the script is, sorry to call you out of the blue, but, I noticed that you have a property here on 1234 Main Street. We buy properties in cash, and, you don't have to put a cent into the property. We pay all the closing fees. You don't have to put another cent into the property. And, it's really, it's a good solution because the investor buys the property as is. And it's really great for these types of, motivated sellers that don't necessarily want to sell their home through the traditional routes. Maybe they, need to do several repairs. Their property isn't in the best of conditions. Maybe they're in some type of economic situation. They're going through a divorce. They need to downsize quickly. One of their, maybe their husband has lost his job and they really just can't keep up with the payments, the mortgage payments. And there are just a number of different situations, and they really don't fancy having people coming around the house, looking at the property. They would rather just have an investor come, offer a price, and they can close between, 15 to 30 days. And then that property is off their hands and they get a pretty decent cash offer. So that's kind of one of the scenarios. And then also we have, the agents that do lead management. So slightly bigger organizations, they may need help with sieving through their CRM, organizing the data, and maybe they've got a ton of or a team of acquisition people, have acquisition managers on the ground, and they don't want them wasting their time qualifying leads only to find out that they're kind of time wasters, the tire kickers, the price isn't right, they're not really motivated, or they don't really want to sell quick. They may be looking to sell within 6 to 12 months, so it's more of a follow-up. And it just doesn't fit the criteria. So they hire a lead manager, and the lead manager is what I would describe as the bridge between the marketing department and acquisitions. So they kind of make that bridge, and then they qualify the leads, send them over to the acquisition team to close. They save time. It's highly convenient. And you just kind of got that middle man sieving through and pre-qualifying everything, sending over the lead, ready to close for the acquisition team. And then we also have the acquisition managers. It can work really well for clients that want someone remotely to close the deals. So they can do the closings remotely. Our agents run comps, they pre-qualify, and then they send out the contracts. And then other roles might be executive assistants. They might need someone for admin. And we often get, not all the time, but we do get clients looking for dispo agents. So they have a buyer's list. So they're not interested in having someone speak to sellers, but they need someone to help market the properties that they have so that they can assign these properties over to a buyer for their wholesale deals. So, you know, that's where our service comes into use. I hope that answered your question.
No, it definitely does. And you know, that's an excellent explanation. Just out of curiosity, I don't personally believe this, but I know some people that do. You know, when the economy gets tough, when you're having to cut costs a little bit, a lot of times small business owners will cut marketing first. And it sort of almost seems that VA calling would be maybe a part of marketing, or kind of an you know, tangentially part of that. Why not cut out the VA service, right? Why is this, even in a tough economy, why is it necessary for business owners to have this as part of their business model?
David, go ahead.
Well, yeah, that's a very good point. And it is, you know, I mean, we're a you know, business ourselves, and we've been through good times and bad times. You know, you know, in a business cycle, there's always times that are great, and then the economy gets bad. You've got to battle through that. You've got to have different strategies for different stages of your business's development, what's going on economically, what's going on politically. And it is always easy to cut out the marketing and the thing that's really driving your business, because sometimes that's quite an expense. So, you know, VAs, they cost you money. You know, we have VAs from $10 an hour right up to $17 an hour for our premium service for our US expats, as Sam was mentioning, native English speakers. So there is a cost to that. But then you have to think, well, if you were a business and you had your own staff, I mean, all right, businesses do downsize and they do lay off staff. But a lot of businesses keep their staff during bad times, and they're paying social security for them. They're paying other taxes. They're giving them office space. So really, a VA, an outsourced VA from a company like Nomadux, outsourcing like us, is actually a very, very low cost option, and probably not something you should cut. You could probably look at cutting other things rather, because your VA is somebody who's constantly out there speaking directly to the market that you make your money from. So if you're a flipper, what you want to do is buy homes, you know, sell those contracts on, make the commissions. If you haven't got somebody speaking to people who are willing to sell their homes, then really, in a way, you don't really have a business. So people try Facebook advertising, they try, you know, mail shots. I mean, how many emails do you get a day that you just don't look at? I send most of mine to spam now, because I just can't handle them all. And then I automatically delete the spam, so I never see them. You know, how many sort of text messages do you get? And the phone companies now are stopping a lot of that, sending out these bulk text messages for marketing. So that's closing down. And it goes back to what I said earlier, I think. You know, even though AI is coming in. I don't think it's ever going to replace somebody speaking to somebody. As annoying as it is, a cold caller calling you when perhaps you don't want them to, it's actually a human being talking to another human being. It's talking to people. It's one person talking to another. And do you really want to get rid of that and downsize that? When it's a core part of your business? Probably not. So we like to think that our services are something that people should keep in a difficult economy. Often they don't. They do downsize. We get clients, saying to us, "Oh, we're gonna stop this for now. Times are bad." But you know what, Aaron? Guess what? They always come back. So the fact that they come back is like, well, yeah, we wish we hadn't gone, really, because whatever else they've tried in between hasn't really worked. Not saying that VAs are the only thing to try. It's part of a package, a marketing package of your company. It's a part of the sort of marketing strategy you have, but it's a really important part. And we have so many clients that leave and come back again. So I guess that answers the question, hopefully.
Yeah. No, it sure does. Thank you. Is there anything that you haven't said that you'd really just like to hit home for our audience?
I don't know, Samantha. I'm going to throw this over to you. You're the one who's always got so many great things to say.
Well, I don't know if this is kind of it, but just really following on from what David said, obviously there are different marketing channels to use. And at the moment, we know that direct mail is very popular. And we've also been incorporating that too in our business. But I think what works well with cold calling, when you can get it to work well. And, obviously it's so important to understand that we provide the agent trained, and there are many aspects that we have to take a responsibility for. But also, you need to have good data. You need to be able to close deals. You need to be able to follow up on the leads. But I think what makes cold calling great is, in comparison to direct mail, you have to get a response from the other person. It can maybe take a couple of days. If you make contact with someone on the phone, yes, it is a very traditional method, but you get an answer right in that moment. If you are a quality salesperson, if there's a buying signal or not. If that person is interested. If they have a pain point. So that's what it is really about. It's about really finding what are the pain points of these potential sellers and really engaging with them to be able to meet and find a solution. And I would, shout out to the audience and say, if you are thinking of trying a different marketing channel, maybe you've tried cold calling in the past, maybe you were successful, maybe you weren't, and you're thinking about doing it again, I would recommend it, because you're going to get that personalized connection. And as David was talking about with the AI, I think with AI, it's going to take a while for us to achieve that singularity, for us to really get on board with it. In the meantime, we can still stick to cold calling. People can give you an answer. You can call them back. You make appointments, and it works. I mean, we have case studies. Just one client that comes to mind, one of our clients in Utah, he used to be an old client of ours. He split from his business partner, joined a new business venture, and then came back to Nomadux, has 3 full-time cold callers, and he has 2 of his biggest deals of the year so far have been from cold calling. And both of them came from 2 of our cold callers, 2 different ones, a gentleman and a lady cold caller, and he has a 566% ROI. And he said it was very kind of difficult at first because he was starting off again afresh with a different business. And he hadn't been doing cold calling for a while, but it's been working really, really well for him. So when it works magically, and you can get a really good ROI. It's personalized. You can get a good contact rate. And if you have the right person, I think you can incorporate it as part of your long-term strategy. And I think that's what you were talking about, Aaron, is when the going gets tough, right? When there are, economic declines, when inflation is high, we have a pandemic, we could have another pandemic again. We don't know, right? And what is the one thing that might get eliminated? Well, it might be the marketing budgets. But what we always try to deliver or try to articulate to clients is, don't see us as a client-provider relationship. Let's work together as partners in success. Let's work together so we can provide you a solution that works in the long term. And that's why we've had a core base. Obviously, we don't have all of our clients like this. I wish we did. But to be honest, that's why we have a core base of clients that have been with us for 2-3 years, because they have incorporated us in the long term as part of their long-term business strategy, not just a short-term marketing idea that they're going to try and then, the data's no good or they can't close within a month or two and then they give it up and try something else. So I think it really depends on the kind of mentality of the clients and what their kind of long-term goals are.
I think that's a great note to end on. I really like that distinction that you made between the short versus the long term of, hey, I'm just going on a whim and, I'm going to try this and if it works out, versus, hey, this is a very, intricate part of my business model that I think is gonna, bear fruit and I'm going to use for a long time. So that's a great explanation.
Great.
Yeah. All right. Well, again, thank y'all so much for coming on the show. For those,
thank you.
Yeah, for those of y'all who are out there listening to our chat, we will have Sam and David's information in the description of the video. Sam, David, thank you again so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure to chat with y'all.
Thank you, Aaron. It's been a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Thanks
Thank you so
very
much.
All right, guys, signing off from our Texas Real Estate Construction YouTube channel. We will talk to y'all later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.